Hey, welcome to this episode, and I'm Julie Hood from CourseCreatorsHQ.com, and if you didn't know this yet, for those who've listened in the past, I'm a bit of an organizing nerd, and I'm always looking for ways to get a little bit more done or get a little bit further and be a little bit more productive. And so today's episode is going to talk about some ideas around this and how you can help yourself get more done, including creating and selling your next course.
Welcome to the Course Creators HQ podcast, helping you navigate the latest techniques for creating and marketing online courses. And now, here is your host, Julie Hood.
So I am so excited about this episode for you because I think it could be one of the ones that is the most impactful for you and helping you actually get some things done and get some things accomplished. So take the time to listen in on this episode and really let me know. I'd love to hear if it's helpful for you. But first, let me give you a little bit of background about where all of this came from. So I've always been a bit of an organizing nerd and would spend way too much time like getting the perfect notebooks together for school and that kind of thing. But where this really came into play for me, and my moms and dads out there who have little ones will totally relate to this. When my kids were born, suddenly I had to figure out a way to juggle all the mom things, plus I was working, plus keeping the house in some kind of order and be a wife and try to juggle all of those things and still sleep once in a while when he wasn't sleeping. Plus we were right on top of the holidays. So these were all of our first holidays as a family together. So let me tell you, it was a rough 3 months. And because of this, it became super essential that I could get as much done as I possibly could in the time that I had to work on things. So my organizing and productivity went to a whole new level at that point because it was so essential if we were going to have the type of family life that we wanted. So it's gotten easier now that my kids are older and I have much more control over my time, but I still want to make sure that I'm being as productive as possible. And so today's episode is around to sort of not only help you with that, but help you actually create and sell more of your courses, more of your content, and get it out there. And I think there's a really important message in here that if you capture it, it could change things for you significantly, not only for the next 3 months, but on with your business. So I want to get to these ideas that you can use. But first up, let me also tell you one of the things that I'm working on this week that I think could be really interesting for you is I'm putting together a new way for you to figure out what should I be doing for the next 12 weeks or the next 90 days? Like, where should I be focusing? I've got an offer to help you actually do that, and it's an inexpensive way for us to get to work together, and I'll give you the exact layout of here's what you should be doing over the next 12 weeks and figuring out like where you should focus and what you should not focus on. So it is at CourseCreatorsHQ.com/plan, CourseCreatorsHQ.com/plan, and you can come join me to put together a very custom, very personalized solution just for you, just for your business, and just for the stage that you're at. And I think this is one of the most difficult things sometimes, especially for some newer online marketers, is like, oh my goodness, there's so much for me to learn. Where should I be focusing? What should I be doing? And so that's what I want to put together for you in this session that we do together, is focused on this. This is your plan for the next 90 days. And then you can run with it, or we can continue working together. So it's a short, simple way for us to try to test things out and see if you like working together. So love for you to do that. CourseCreatorsHQ.com/plan. And now let's get into these concepts today that I'm thrilled to be able to share with you. And it's from a book called The 12-Week Year that I think they've done just a fabulous job of marketing and naming this book, because immediately your brain has this disconnect of 12-week year. A year has 52 weeks. What are you talking about? And I'll give you the kind of overall concept, and then there's a lot of nuances into implementing this well and doing this well. But the overall concept is that if we are thinking about what we want to do over a year, our brains tend to relax a little and chill out. Oh yeah, I got a whole year to do all this. Like, no worries, I can definitely get to that. And we don't really focus real hard on making it happen. But when you condense it down and you say, this is what I need to accomplish in the next 12 weeks for a 12-week year, consider it like a year instead of really a year, or in the next 90 days. I kind of interchange the concepts of a quarter, 12 weeks, and 90 days. You'll hear me say all three of those throughout these episodes. They're all about the same amount of time, so I just use them interchangeably. So if you think about it, if you have to get something done in the next 90 days, you're going to be a lot more focused and a lot more specific about doing the steps that need to happen than if you're like, oh, I got a whole year to do that. So that's why we want to kind of convert our brain into focusing on these 12-week years. Okay, and there's three big ideas that I want to pull out for you that I really liked from this book. And this first one, I think, could really make a huge difference in your course business going forward. So come back to me, stop multitasking, like get this one, because it is so impactful to help you build your business. And the first big idea is, are you executing? And it doesn't matter how much we know or how much we learn. If we're not executing on these things, if we're not taking action and moving forward, we're not going to get to the goals. And so this is why my basement is a disaster, because I am not executing on cleaning that. I'm not taking action on that. And one of the best things we can do is pause and be like, okay, why am I not doing that? What's in the way? What do I need? And sometimes it's something super simple, like, oh, I just don't know where to start. That is, once you figure out where to start, then you can jump in. Or something like, ooh, it's just too dark down there, I don't want to go down there. Or so maybe let's get some lights down there. Just what is the thing that's holding you back? And I had this conversation with one of my one-on-one clients. We had been talking about, for her, a way for her to get in front of her target audience, and it was a bunch of people and kind of a really good place for her to focus. And I noticed that she wasn't doing it, and I was trying to figure out why. So we were really digging in. I was kind of being a pest, actually. Like, okay, so why aren't you doing this? What's going on here? What's happening for you? And why is this not making it to the top of the to-do list? So that's what the big idea for the first one that I want to throw out to you is, really, really question yourself. Why am I not doing this? If you've told yourself a lot that you've wanted to create a course, what's in the way? What's holding you back? Because I get that one a lot. I will tell people what I do. Oh yeah, I've been wanting to have a course forever, which is great. I'm glad, but let's actually execute. Let's actually take action and put it into place, because it doesn't have to be as hard as our brain likes to make things. And then another sort of side part of this whole execution thing is, you do have to look at the time that you are spending and where your time is being spent and how you can work it in, because we've all filled our lives very much with things to do. So you may have to give up something in order to make some time, but if it's truly important to you, I do think you will do that. Okay, so that's the one big idea. If you go away with nothing else from this episode, asking yourself about executing where you are and where you aren't executing, and go from there. The second idea from this book that I really loved is they talk about doing tracking and measurement. And if you've heard that quote from Peter Drucker, who's the management productivity guy, one of his quotes is that what gets measured gets improved. what gets measured gets improved. And so that's why a lot of times I am talking about, have you looked at your tracking? Have you looked at your numbers? What are you measuring? What are you thinking about and focusing on so that we can fix it? And I don't have time to dig into it, but if you get the book, I'll have the link in the show notes. If you get the book, they talk about the types of indicators and having very specific measurement indicators so you know if you are moving forward and you're tracking things ahead of time and then afterwards to help give you some accountability on getting things done. And if you've ever noticed, like when it's time to go on vacation, how much harder you work because it's that deadline of I'm leaving, I got to get this done. That's that energy that we want to grab a hold of and apply it in ways that can make us more motivated to actually work on things. And then where the second part of that accountability that I think is so important is it's really easy, and especially online, this happens so much. If you are working on something and you need to put in more of a long-term effort, but you're not seeing any results yet, and a lot of the stuff that we do, you don't see results immediately. It's a longer term slogging through some of the stuff. It's really easy to have that kind of grass is always greener somewhere else and shiny object syndrome where you're like, okay, this isn't working. Let me go try something else and maybe I'll get some results faster. And usually what I have found that happens is you switch over to something else and then same thing happens. You don't give it long enough. You don't put in the effort long enough. You're not executing long enough, and potentially that can pull you down too. So we want to get out of this shiny object jumping from thing to thing and really recognize that sometimes it's just a matter of putting in the consistent effort over the time that you need. So the folks that I see doing the best, the most successful, the ones that are really rocking it, they are the ones who send those emails every week. They are the ones who do that podcast episode every week, even when they're tired of it. So where are there any places that you need to add some of that into your business? And you can use tracking and measurement to see if you're actually following through on what you want to be doing. Okay. And then the last idea, and the book digs into this much more deeply, but I wanted to just give this idea to you, is that you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that in some ways because instead of being uncomfortable with, I don't know what to write in an email and I don't know how to use the tool and all this is just no fun because I don't know what to do, it's so much more comfortable to go sit down and watch Netflix for a while. So really ask yourself some questions like, what pulls you through when you don't feel like doing something? What gets you to go for it? What actually motivates you? And I remember back when I was in high school, I had set this really high goal for myself. It was a one-time thing. And because of that, I was focused and really made the extra effort because I had this deadline and it pulled me through. And then when my kids were born, there was also a whole different level of motivation that comes when you have children and you're taking care and supporting them. So figure out what those things are. You know, some people say it's your vision, which sometimes I get that, but sometimes I think that's kind of big and far off. Find those things that really fit for you, that's going to pull you through when you're uncomfortable and keep you going. And recognize, this was one of my favorites, is that your brain and the thoughts that you have could be the opposite of this, the opposite of helping you execute and make things happen. Your brain wants to keep things the same and not have things change. There's a specific part of our brain that does that. And so all of those thoughts and chatter that's going on in your head about this isn't going to work, this isn't worth your time, all that stuff is when you can step back and say, oh, okay, this is my brain or my mind or whatever, however you want to name it, trying to keep me safe by not risking and doing anything different. So I'm going to see that and I'm going to step back and go, you know what? It's okay. Thanks for the advice, but I'm going to try this anyway. I'm going to jump in anyway. So, those are the three big ideas. One is the willingness to execute and take what you've learned and actually take action. The second is having tracking and measurement to help you stay accountable and make sure you're on task. And then that willingness to be uncomfortable and to be in a place of, I don't know, this is frustrating, it's not working, being willing to still get through that and make things happen and go get to that end goal because you have some reason that's pulling you through. Okay, so how do you actually create what they call the 12-week year plan? There's a couple steps to it, and I'll put the link in so you can get the full book, but I'll just give you a short version. Generally, they recommend that you have 3 goals and that you figure out the tactics to go with it. The tactics are the steps. So the big challenge is just really knowing, like, what should your 3 goals be? And then what are the tactics that are going to get that result for you? So that's where I want to help you with this 90-day plan option that I'm talking about. Like, let's work on it. I've got all kinds of tools and activities and checklists and templates that we can use to help you actually accomplish these 3 goals. But first we have to make sure that you're doing the right ones at the right time. So that's a big piece of the making this happen and pulling this together the way you want to. And then at the end of the 12 weeks, just to kind of wrap this up, you take a look at what you did and you reassess and reevaluate and change some things and make adjustments. And then you have another 12 weeks to really focus on either continuing those 3 goals or 3 brand new goals. So I really hope that this has been helpful for you, at least made you think about where you're executing and what you want versus what you're executing on and taking action on. Let me know and come join me for the 90-day plan. I hope we get to work together on that and pull the thoughts together for you. So CourseCreatorsHQ.com/plan, and I will talk to you again soon. Catch you on next week's episode. Take care.